Well, look, it's always a celebration of the rights, of our rights as a people. I think it's important to continue commemorating our rights and indeed to celebrate them. So I think this year is going to be a very different year because of COVID. You know, no one could have anticipated as we turned the year when we thought that the post-Brexit talks on the future relationship were the most important thing that we would need to face off in 2020, that we would have a pandemic. So this has transformed the way that we live our lives. Hopefully it's not going to be that long, but certainly this year is having a very deep impact. But notwithstanding that impact, even though this is going to be a very strange national day for those of us who have celebrated the National Day in a much more sort of vigorous way previously, I think it is important to continue our commemoration of our rights.
You say commemoration as opposed to perhaps lobbying. The GSD has certainly argued in the past that Gibraltar is confident of its relationship with the UK and enjoys the maximum level of self-government. What is our political message then?
Well, look, that's not my position. It has, hitherto been argued by the GSD, but when I became leader, I made very clear that my position is that there is still latitude for constitutional reform. I believe that we should still go to the United Nations.
To both meetings?
I believe we should. And I believe that we should seek our decolonisation, and I believe that we should seek more constitutional reform, primarily for the purpose of internal governance and checks and balances on the power of the executive, the power of the government, to hold government better to account. So I believe that there should be constitutional reform. I don't use the word commemoration in any sort of particularly nuanced way. I was just using it to explain that I think we should celebrate our rights as a people, and I believe that we should still continue our case to lobby for international recognition of our rights and indeed for decolonisation.
That brings you closer to the government line, but perhaps for different reasons.
Well, my position has not changed. It has always been that position. When I've been inside the GSD, and even in the period that I left, that was my view. I continued to reiterate it to whoever wanted to listen, and when I've come back to the GSD, I've remained of the same view that I have always remained. So my view has always been consistent. I believe that we are on the path to decolonisation, but we have clearly not obtained it yet because we are still on the UN list. I am very confident of our relationship with the UK. I believe we have come very far in that relationship and we have progressed significantly, but it's clear that there is still further steps to be taken, both in terms of decolonisation itself, which is the formal step that you need to take at the United Nations, in terms of the international recognition of our rights, which clearly are not recognised by everybody all the time, and indeed in terms of our own internal self-governance.
Well, nationalism can have negative connotations with the promotion of one nation, normally to the detriment of others. Do you think that perhaps the fervour of National Day may actually feed this?
Well, look, I mean, nationalism has a positive and indeed a negative consequence. I mean, there are different features. Like everything in life, things taken to excess sometimes which are positive in nature, but if they're taken to excess, they have negative qualities. And nationalism is something like that. I think it is nationalism is very positive when what we are doing is celebrating our rights as a people, reflecting on where we've come from, the fact that our previous generations have achieved so much to build this community, our sort of collective desire to continue like that, to ensure that there is a place that we call our home, that is Gibraltar, that is recognized. All of that is positive, but taken to an extreme, of course, nationalism, not just in Gibraltar, but in any place in the world, can also have negative connotations, and it's important for politicians to speak in a measured tone to ensure that I think we keep those excesses away.
So National Day, a day for the community, a day for Keith Azopardi. What will you be doing?
Well, I will be doing what I usually do, which is to have a National Day barbecue at home with a family. This time, as opposed to previous years, the National Day barbecue is slightly more organized, because normally what I do is I do the preparation for the barbecue, but then I have to pop out to the rally, I'll do the interview. That tends to sort of slightly give me anxiety as to whether I can meet the lunchtime deadline that my mother is always very keen that I should meet. So this year it's slightly more organized, and I'm sure I will keep to the program.
Well, the joys of pre-recorded television then. What's your message to the people of Gibraltar today?
Look, I think this year is a very important year for Gibraltar, and people will be anxious, not just because of the effect that COVID has had on this economy and our people and the way that we live our lives, but as we look forward, the next 4 months is a very critical period for Gibraltar. The whole post-Brexit talks on the future relationship and how we end up at the end of the transitional period. But I believe that we should look confidently at the future. These are very important times for the people of Gibraltar, but as politicians, and I can certainly assure the people who are listening from the point of view and perspective of the GSD opposition that I lead, that we are confident in our future, that we will navigate these matters if they are properly handled, and that we will be here for years to come to celebrate our rights as a people.